place on that old locked door, for which you have no key. So stick around and you might find who's really done it now. But after all is said and done, can you really tell me how? Gotta ask yourself, what now? What now? What now? What
My name's Mud. Mel Mud. 2 Ds. I'm a comic book detective. Now comics. Yeah, you might say know a little bit about them. In fact, I know a lot about them. You see, this whole thing got started with one simple sentence spoken by Tony Caputo, publisher of Now Comics.
So fire them. As a matter of fact, fire all the comic book characters.
But Tony, then what are they going to do?
Who cares? Let them sell shoestrings on a street corner somewhere.
So the meeting continued as deadlines approached. No one was aware of the lone figure standing outside the door, or the disaster that was just beginning to brew. The ink didn't hit the fan until a couple hours later, and when it hit, it splattered everywhere.
Tony, something's wrong. Snart's gone, he's disappeared.
Wait a minute, Mark. Slow down, sit down. What's going on?
Snart's gone. The artwork I drew last night, I looked at it this morning, and it's just vanished.
Mark, you killed me, but please, save it for the book. I'm a busy man. There's a deadline in 3 days, and there are billions and billions of men, women, and children waiting for your next Snart comic book. And you're telling me he's gone? A comic book character that's disappeared into thin air? That's pretty funny.
Funny? You call this funny? Look at my artwork. It's blank.
So, this was finished last night?
Yeah.
Now it's blank. Has this ever happened to you before?
Never.
Are you sure you haven't misplaced anything? I mean, I would understand if you did. I have been pushing you hard, maybe too hard.
Tony, it's gone.
Mark. Why don't you take a break? Why don't you go out, take a walk, a nice, long walk, and then get back in here and finish your book. The printer is starting to press me, and you're giving me a headache.
But Tony,
Please, Mark, just go out and do your job. Out, please. Out.
At first, Caputo seemed a bit startled by what was going on. But then he realized he had nothing to worry about. He had worked with Mark Henson for a long time, and he never knew him to miss a Ralph Snart deadline. There was really no reason for him to think he'd miss one now. Maybe Caputo had been pushing him too hard. In fact, maybe Caputo had been pushing himself too hard. He figured it would all be resolved before lunch anyway. Henson would find Snart and the deadline would be met. So Caputo kicked back for a little relaxation of his own. It would be the shortest nap he ever took.
Somebody dumped ink all over my pages, and the Mach 5 has been towed away.
My desk has been totally trashed, and the real Ghostbusters, all slime. And what are you going to do about it?
Quiet! This is a joke, right?
This is no joke, Tony.
Tony, Speed Racer is missing.
And Chim Chim too?
Yes, and Chim Chim too.
This is more serious than I thought. I don't think I have to tell you people that we're in trouble. Big trouble. It seems that someone's out to get us. And if I don't find out who that someone is, fast, Now Comics will ship late. Please, leave me. I need a moment to think this through.
Our friend Caputo suddenly realized the seriousness of the situation he was in, and he knew he needed answers fast, from somebody on the outside, from somebody who had a good amount of experience in the mysterious. Well, he picked up the phone and he called the only one who could help. It was the smartest thing he did all day. Now Mudd, Comic Book Detective Agency. Mudd speaking.
Mudd, this is Tony Caputo of Now Comics.
Tony Caputo. What do you hear? What do you say?
I got a problem. I'm in a jam.
Strawberry or grape?
Mudd, I'm in serious trouble, so you better listen and knock off with the wisecracks. My comic book characters are disappearing. My staff is falling apart at the seams. I need answers. So you better get over here quick. I am in a pickle. Don't say it, Mudd.
Hiller kosher. All right, I'll be over there as fast as I can. Right, and whatever you do, just don't talk to anybody until I get there. Well, they're going to think you're a real freak.
Which I admit was my first impression as well. But I decided to go anyway. After all, this was Tony Caputo, the big cheese of Now Comics. And there'll probably be some dinero involved. And where money talks, no Mudd listens.
Oh, Mudd, would you like a cigar? Mark Hansen gave me this, and you know they don't smoke.
Maybe later. First, I want to get the facts, Tony. It's vital that I know everything, because in my business, everything is important. And especially dealing with comic book characters, if there's one thing I've learned is you've got to cover it all. A to Z, front to back, up and down, in and out.
Listen, Mudd, if this is too much for you, I could go to the police with it.
There'll be no need for that, Tony. If there's something going on around here, I'll find out what it is. Or my name's not Mudd.
Well, it all started when Mark Hansen came into the office.
All right, is that everything then?
Yes, I believe I've told you everything I know.
Okay, but is that everything then?
I just told you that.
I think I'll take that cigar now. Well, I'm going to have to do some research. You know, detective-like stuff. But I'm going to need your full cooperation on this. I can see this is going to take a full investigation, Tony. We're dealing with a real professional here. I'm going to need to know everything about Now Comics. I'm going to have to meet the entire staff. And by the time I'm through, I'll be able to put this comic book back together myself. By the way, this was meant for you. So you better watch your backside. Just as I thought. This is beginning to look like an inside job. So there I was, Smack dab in the biggest scandal that ever shook the comic book world. I knew my investigation was going to bring me close to the edge. Just how far over the edge I was going to get pushed, I didn't know. So I decided to start my investigation by talking to all the people who put Now Comics together. And one by one, I was going to get to the bottom of this case.
You'll have to excuse me if I seem a bit out of it. I've been up all night trying to draw Snart.
Any luck?
No. I even think of Snart, and the thoughts just escape me. I don't know what it is. It's really weird. It's like someone threw a monkey wrench into my whole thinking process.
A monkey wrench? That's interesting. Tell me more about this monkey wrench.
That's just a figure of speech.
Yeah, but tell me more about the monkey wrench.
Forget it.
Okay, fine. Now, tell me exactly your responsibilities here at Now Comics as the creator of Ralph Snart. I mean, bringing Snart from concept to comic book. And it's vital that you don't leave anything out. I don't understand the process of a clever detective like myself, but everything is important.
Well, the first thing I do is think of an idea. And I usually get an idea from something I actually experienced, or a story someone told me, or something I read in a magazine. Usually I just try and think of a situation to put Ralph into that I think would be interesting and that'll turn out humorous and will be easy to write.
Then what do you do?
Next, I write the story out. I sketch out each page, panel by panel, and actually draw very roughly what would be in each panel. And with the appropriate talk balloons next to each character. So I pretty much lay the whole story out as I go, as I write the story. Which isn't like what most writers do. They'll write, they won't draw any pictures to accompany their script. They'll just type out their script, setting description, action description, or dialogue. And, but I just prefer to do it this way.
Anything else special?
There are a few things that I like to keep in mind when I write my story. I want to make sure that the dialogue is easy to read. You have to make sure that all the dialogue makes sense, and makes sense from panel to panel, that the dialogue is keeping with the characters. And another thing is I like to make sure that the flow of the story flows as easy as possible, from panel to panel, from page to page. Because it's easier to write that way, and it's also much easier to read and understand the story. I don't use a lot of tricky storytelling devices or any flashbacks, because I think it just hampers the reader from understanding what you're trying to say. That's about it.
Okay, is that everything then?
Just like I told you.
Were you doing your job as usual when the Snart disappeared?
Yes, just like I told you.
Did you notice anything unusual or strange? Besides the fact that Ralph Snart has disappeared?
Well, isn't the fact that he disappeared strange enough?
I'll do the questioning around here.
I'm not aware of anything else going on.
What's that? Grab my pencil, excuse me. What have we here? An empty beer bottle. Wonder how that got there. Then again, you probably couldn't tell me if you were pounding beers all day. Maybe you'd like to explain.
Look, I don't know where this beer came from. As far as I'm concerned, this beer appeared as mysteriously as Snart disappeared. So if you're through, I have a comic book to salvage.
Alright, I'm through for now, Henshaw.
Hanson.
Yeah. But I'm gonna need to take this bottle back with me.
As evidence?
No, I get a nickel back on every bottle.
Fine, by all means.
I'll be in touch, Headley.
Hanson.
Yeah. By the way, Hanlon,
Hanson.
I wouldn't worry too much. I'll find Snart and the other character, or my name's not Mud. My meeting with Henson provided me with little information and left me with no concrete leads. I had a hunch, though. I had a hunch that it was somebody on the inside. But I had no proof. But I must admit the monkey wrench left me a bit curious. But the beer bottles left me with nothing but some spare change. I knew there must have been a connection between the two. I thought, who would consume beer and throw monkey wrenches? Well, I wasn't sure at this point, but I was convinced whoever it may be had to be a real party animal. And then Henson. Well, I believed Henson. My instincts told me he was clean. So there I was. Everyone a suspect and no one a suspect. Well, I decided to continue my investigation by interviewing the editor of Now Comics, a Miss Katie Llewellyn. Name's Mud, 2 D's, 1 M, and you. I'm here to investigate some vanishing comic book characters. You know, it's putting Now Comics into a tailspin. I'd like to ask you a few questions. Sit down. Exactly where were you yesterday at 11:30 a.m.?
Look, Mud, I'll go along with the questioning because I care about Now Comics, and I'm curious as to what's happening around here. But do me a favor, leave out the Dick Tracy stuff. We'll get along fine. I'm sorry. I've been under an extreme amount of pressure lately. Someone sabotaged my computer. Stuck something in it. I can't get it to work. All my scripts and files, they're all in there. Look, I try to pull up some information, and all it does is belch. Someone's definitely up to some monkey business.
Monkey business. Yeah, I think we're dealing with a sick criminal mind. I'm beginning to see a pattern here.
What kind of pattern?
I'll do the questioning around here, sis. Now look, I want to know exactly what the editor of Now Comics does. And give it to me straight.
Basically, it's my job to carry out the publisher's vision. He dictates what he wants, he has a vision for the company and his books, and it's my job to make it happen. I'm in creative control of all the books. That means I have to set the tone, the mood, and the direction. I assist the writers in their plot lines, and I have to follow the continuity. I have to make sure the characters are always consistent, the dates match up, there's not a gun in one hand and then a gun in the other. You know what I mean? I also have to follow the artwork in the same sort of way. When I get a page of artwork and there's no dialogue on it, I should be able to tell what's happening without the dialogue. You see what I mean? Take, for example, the Green Hornet. Continuity is vital to this book. We've taken the 40s Green Hornet, the 60s Green Hornet, and our new 80s Green Hornet with the female Kato, and put them into a genealogical history. What that means is that the 40s Green Hornet is the great uncle, or the uncle of the 60s Green Hornet, and he's the uncle of the 80s Green Hornet. And what this entails on my part is making sure all the dates fit, all their ages fit, all the family history fits, making sure that it all works perfectly into the system, so that when you come out with a finished product and you enter in the new Green Hornet, the family history is going to work. There won't be any kinks into the system. Mr. Mudd, do you hear me?
Okay, so, besides all that, anything really out of the ordinary happen?
Not that I can think of, just my computer.
Yeah, it's the computer. Do you mind?
Be my guest. Whoops.
Get this out of it. Ralph Snart comic book. All right. Tell me more about this monkey business.
There isn't much to say.
right, sister, let's get to the meat and potatoes of this. And speaking of meat and potatoes, I know this great little place that specializes in cheeseburgers and new romances. So let's stop beating around the shrubbery. I know you have this irrepressible attraction to me.
What are you, nuts? You repulse me.
Oh yeah, baby cakes? This place is steaming up. Look.
That's it. I'm calling security.
With an old now comic book in my hand, I set out to comb the city for some answers. Maybe somebody had seen one of our comic book fugitives on the street. Of course, I still had some questions I had to answer myself. Like the monkey wrench and the monkey business. What did it all mean? Or why did I feel like everyone was staring at me? Things just weren't adding up. These look okay. I needed something more. And then to make matters worse, I get this call from Caputo. Tells me if I don't crack this case soon, that my name's gonna be mud in the detective business. So he's giving me heat. Well, I told him he had nothing to worry about. I said my name's already Mud. No, Mud's the name. All right. Let's start from the beginning. Tell me, what exactly does a penciler do? Do you mind if I borrow a pencil?
No. Well, actually...
Sorry. Just take another.
Well, the penciler is basically the most important member of the staff on any comic book. He takes the story from the writer and translates it into pencil drawings, to panels and pages, and controls the mood and flow of the story, the continuity, designs any new characters and vehicles, settings that need to be done, and basically tells the story in purely visual terms, so that the reader can understand the story whether there's dialogue or not. He takes the script and
that's good pencil. One more. I'll take an extra one just in case I break. Go ahead.
Then he takes it and breaks it down into pages and panels.
And how long does that usually take?
It could take...
I'll just borrow one more. Thanks, appreciate it. Go ahead.
It could take anywhere from a few hours to weeks. We would do thumbnail drawings first on scratch paper, and some pencilers go through different stages of that and get more and more detailed and finally rendered. and before transferring it to the board, some people just start drawing right on the boards right away. You have to make sure that, first of all, when you're laying out your page, you have to make sure that it's the right dimensions for printing, so that it will fit on the page. Usually it's the standard is 10 by 15.
I just one more. Anyways, as you were saying, what's the hardest thing you have to do with your job?
A lot of it, comes down to just drawing skill. You learn how to draw, and you know the proportions of a figure, or you might want to take some pictures or use a model. If the story is set in a specific location, you might want to get pictures and do research. Doing research helps with the reality of the story. I mean, if the reader sees a made-up car or a building, they know it right away, and distracts from the story.
Okay, so when did you notice something just definitely was wrong? I just gotta borrow one more. You don't. Okay.
Yeah, I came in and all my drawings were changed to this stuff. I mean, that's weeks of work there that's just been totally destroyed. What kind of animal would do something like that? What kind of inhuman fiend could commit such an act?
I don't know. In my business, you see, we don't think. We let the facts do. We let the facts do the thinking for us. Well, I believe I've got everything I need. If you have anything else for me, my phone number's in the book. Name's Mud. 2 Ds.
There's one more thing. Who's going to replace all these pencils?
I'll do the questioning around here, alright? I just need to borrow a little more. Thanks, appreciate it.
I must admit, things were getting very confusing. I had nowhere to turn. I was completely stumped. Who else could cause such havoc? Whoever this character was, one thing was for sure. I was dealing with a real savage. A ruthless and cold-hearted criminal.
Tell me exactly what the letterer does here in Now Comics on an everyday basis. Give it to me straight.
Okay. First thing, I get the penciled pages from the penciler along with the script from the writer. Then I go page by page, or I could work on several pages at once depending on how I'd like to approach the project. I get a lettering guide to provide uniform lettering and to give me the different sizes that I need. Generally, I'll put the guidelines down on the page, deciding where in the artwork each balloon would fit best. Once I've done this, then I look at the script and decide in my mind how I'm going to break up the lettering line by line. You don't actually go in and rough it out. You just have to go in with your pens and letter it immediately. And the kind of pens that you take could be any kind. There's technical pens, there's lettering pens, basically anything you feel comfortable with that holds ink you can use for lettering. So once you've got your dialogue and you've decided how it's going on the page, you begin to letter. You've got your entire page lettered out, just the dialogue. The next step would be to look at the sound effects. These are the large block letters that would go for any kind of sound that would happen in a page, an explosion, a car slam, a thunk, something hitting a wall. Basically, you'd look at it, design the letters that you want, usually on a separate piece of paper. Then you'd take it, put it under your page, because you work with lightweight crystal, and trace it using a light box. Then, once you've got all your dialogue and sound effects in place, the last thing that you have to do is to take the technical pens and you letter all the borders around the panels and put your page numbers in. And that would pretty much be the way that you would handle a page. The only Other things that you might have to do would be the main title on the book, which is probably your best bet for creativity, or a closing panel describing the next issue. And I'd say at this point, you're pretty much done.
See, very interesting. But was there anything strange or unusual or out of the ordinary that happened? You know, like UFOs, the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot.
Nothing at all different than what normally goes on around this place. Except that when I came back from lunch, I found this mess. That's when I went to tell Tony.
Yeah, so you went up and you went to tell Tony. But what exactly did you tell him?
Well, I told him about the mess.
And I suppose he believed you.
What are you driving at, anyway?
Oh, nothing.
Yeah? Well, I think you're pointing the finger at me, and I don't like it. Mud, you're barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah? Well, I ain't saying I'm pointing the finger at you, and I ain't saying I'm not pointing the finger at you. And really, it's none of your business. Caputo hired me for a job, and I plan to do it. Nothing's gonna get in my way. So I'll bark up any tree I want to bark up, buddy. Have a good one.
So there I was, sucking down some cold ones, trying to make some sense out of everything that had happened. I was confused. Whoever I was dealing with had a primitive jungle instinct. Kill or be killed. I was dealing with a real wild man. I was running out of time.
So what exactly happened here?
I wouldn't mess with that pen if I was you. Someone's tampered with it. It goes out.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your concern, but I've handled many, many, many more dangerous implements than this one. This one. All right, so exactly what does an inker do at Now Comics besides leaving dangerous pens around?
Well, an inker is one of the artists that makes up a comic book team. It's my job to finish the artwork that's started by the penciler. To do that, I use black India ink and brushes, quill pens, and I basically redraw or trace the artwork so it's ready for reproduction.
How long does that usually take?
It depends on how detailed the artwork is. I can get a couple pages done a day. If it's really detailed, it might take longer. I incorporate a variety of illustration techniques to simplify and to clarify the artwork. And
what kind of techniques?
Well, it's principally a mechanical job, and I use a lot of, besides being mechanical, I use a lot of creative nuances, and I put details into the books to add style and character to the pencils. Although the process is a mechanical one, it still can be a dynamic process by nuances.
What is a nuance?
Well, it refers to, again, the line quality, different textures that put in, certain ways that pull the characters forward and push other things backwards into space. A good inker can make or break the comic book.
Okay, so anything out of the ordinary happen?
Well, now that you mention it, there was something strange. Here,
what do we have here?
Look at these.
Yeah,
look at this one. Kind of ridiculous. If I didn't know any better, I'd say it came from somebody with only 4 fingers.
If I didn't know any better, I would have to say it was done by somebody with only 4 fingers. Who or what has 4 fingers? Excuse me, ma'am. Are you Susan Dazitsky?
Suzanne Beckman, that's right.
Technique. I just have a few questions to ask you about some vanishing comic book characters.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you know something about them.
Maybe I do.
Maybe you don't.
Could be.
Exactly what does the colorist do here at Now Comics?
Well, it's the colorist's job to bring life to the comics, and we do this in 2 ways. The easy way and the hard way. The easy way is mechanical coloring. What we do is we shoot the original down to comic book size on a Xerox machine, and we take markers, color it in, and we match the marker colors to a color-coded sheet that is separated.
Need that, Sam?
Yeah, go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah.
I don't want to eat it if you're going to eat it.
Well, sorry.
You sure?
Yeah.
Sure? Go ahead. Just keep going.
Yeah, anyway, we match it up to a chart that the separator gives us. And this gives the work a very flat look. The colors are very bright, and so we use it for our kids' books, like Slimer and Speed Racer and things like that. The second method that we use is called full painting. This is a little bit more involved, and we're able to get more subtle colorings in here. The original work is shot down on a camera. We take the negatives and make a blue line, which is basically non-photo blue reproduction of the artwork. Okay, then the work is airbrushed, and to do this, we put down a frisket, okay, which is it's a clear sheet, and the areas to be painted are cut out, and then they're painted with the airbrush. The reason we do this is it gives the work a more polished and professional look. Then the frisket is pulled off, and the characters are painted in using dyes, and we're able to get a very full range of subtle colors here. So it's more appropriate to our adult books, like especially Green Hornet. And then it's sent to the separator.
Okay, now tell me exactly. This is an anyway. Oh.
Say what?
Sorry. No mind if I have another. Is there anything unusual been happening, strange, out of the ordinary?
Like your eating habits? Yeah. Yeah, as a matter of fact, there was. This Overstreet price guide. Get this. Ralph Smart number 1. $4,500.
Let me see it. This really hurts. I've dedicated my life to upholding the principles of this book. This burns me up. You got your commies, you got your pinkos, you got your flag burners, but when you're talking about desecrating the comic price guide, you're talking a sick mind, lady.
Not only that, but look at this.
I didn't notice that. Guide is for... What did that say? Guide is for... I can't even read that. What word is it? Who would have the audacity to defile the comic price guide? Who would be so twisted to do such a vandalistic type thing? I don't even know if that's a word, but yours truly is upset. And countless others depend on this guide. Is nothing sacred anymore? Well, my next step was to meet the separator. Caputo had told me the separator plays a vital function at Now Comics. He said their separating process separates them from the other guys. Well, if this is true, and the conspiracy is an inside job, that means our little culprit must have paid a disaster visit to the separator. Okay. Well, my meeting with the separator didn't tell me anything I didn't already know. So I figured it was time for a cup of coffee and to look over some notes.
Hey, Johnny, set me up, buddy. Well, I think it's about time we take a look at some separator notes here.
Thanks, Johnny. Okay. By using state-of-the-art high-tech computers and production capabilities, the separator takes every color in the world and separates them into 4 processed colors that are all used by the entire printing industry. The processed colors consist of black, yellow, magenta, a pinkish red, and cyan, a deep sky blue. With these 4 colors mixed together in a variety of percentages and mixtures, they can copy every color that needs to be printed.
I've long been familiar with this process.
The color separator also creates final film for each process for the printer to make printing plates from. The final film is actually produced using millions of tiny dots. If you look under a magnifying glass at any printed material, from magazines to paper cups, they all have these dots, processed color dots. Unlike the traditional tint system, a more revolutionary coloring system for comics is the use of painted colors and laser scannering. The laser scanner is a sophisticated computer system which can read colors off a printed page to split out 4 color processed film copies of those printed images. This laser scanning system allows for the colorist to be far more creative, where sky's the limit with printing any colors you wish to create the movie. The quality of the color separations are ultimately seen in the printing process and then on the printed pages. So this stage of the production of Now Comics is very important. Now Comics produces most of its titles using the laser scanner system, which explains the depth of much of their artwork.
So like I said, I didn't get much from the separator, except one thing. This, a banana peel. I found it in the separator's garbage can in the cafeteria. He told me he had a snack earlier. I didn't buy it. There's definitely monkey business going on here. A banana peel. My most incriminating piece of evidence I'd yet to discover. Beside the monkey wrench Mark Henson was talking about, and the monkey business Katie Llewellyn had mentioned. Well, this has definitely narrowed my list of suspects down considerably. Suddenly my investigation took a turn, a new turn. I got this call from Caputo. He told me that something was wrong up at the printing plant in Minnesota. He thought it would be a good idea if I went up there, met their art director, and got to the bottom of this fast. Alright. Now tell me exactly what you do for Now Comics. And give it to me straight.
Okay, I handle everything from beginning to end. A script comes from the scriptwriter, goes to a penciler. The penciler then in turn gives it to me for an approval. I give it to a letterer. A letterer then in turn gives it back to me so I can give it to an...
But wait a minute. What are you doing here today?
Well, you see, upon receipt of the finished films from the separator, I receive 2 types of proofs to check again, to make sure that everything is in place. The first proof is a 1-color proof, trimmed and stapled to actual printed size. This proof is called a Dilux. Its main function is to show that every page is in order and in place, and also, with the help of the editors, a last chance to catch any typos or misspellings. The second set of proofs are the full-color, 8-page flat proofs. These are to show me that register of all 4 processed colors are perfect, and to make doubly sure that all colors are vibrant and correct. These proofs are also what the printer uses to match color onto the paper. At the printer, I supervise the matching of color. Proof to printed page. Each processed color can be increased or decreased to add more red, blue, yellow, black, whatever needed to match the correct color proofs. Now Comics are printed on state-of-the-art presses using the highest grade paper for the comic industry. They're called heat set web offset. The term heat set means that when processed colors are pressed onto the paper, there is an oven which actually bakes the color on top of the sheet to create the most brilliant reproduction. Web offset simply means that it feeds a huge roll of paper rather than single sheets. Most of the time, at least 10,000 to 20,000 interior guts, which are called signatures, are wasted before a perfect allotment of up to 250,000 comic books can be printed. From the press, the signatures meet the cover in the binding where they are stitched or stapled and trimmed into your standard 6 5/8 by 10 1/4 comic book size. They're boxed and shipped off to the distributors.
Wait a minute. Tony Caputo sent me up here to find out what's going on with his comics. And I want some answers, and I want them now.
Look, this is what I came up here for.
What is this?
They called me. What kind of mistake is this? On every page.
It's Ralph Snart. Give him the raspberry.
Yeah. He's probably responsible for everything, don't you think?
Look, I'll do the questioning around here, all right, sister? I had to hand it to this guy. He certainly covered everything. And now he was trying to pin the rap on Snart. Well, this was obviously a guy who was very bitter over other people's success. Well, it all started to make sense to me. The monkey wrench, the banana peel, monkey business, 4 fingers, the total disregard for rules and regulations, and worst of all, he wanted to stick it to the guy who was most loyal to him, Tony Caputo. He was tired of taking a back seat to Speed Racer. He wanted his own comic book. He would like to see Now Comics destroyed. Well, he forgot about one thing. Me. Mel Mudd. I'd never let that happen. So it was time to get the monkey with a grudge. It was time to capture Chim Chim. Tony? I'll be frank.
You can be whoever you want. Just tell me, do you know who's trying to destroy Now Comics?
Yes. But let me first explain some clues I've obtained. And then you'll be convinced, beyond a reasonable doubt, that through my great detective work and great reasoning, I have figured out who the criminal is with scientific accuracy. Let me show you. First, Mel Mudd clue. A monkey wrench. Who would throw monkey wrenches at Now Comics? Second, monkey business. Who would conduct monkey business at Now Comics? Who cares, Mudd? Just tell me. Third, a banana peel. Who would leave a banana peel around here?
Who cares, Mudd? I don't have time for these charades.
Wait, Tony. Give me time to explain. And I'm sure you'll understand. All right. Who would consume alcoholic beverages on the premises of Now Comics? Only someone with primitive instincts.
Yeah?
Who would stuff a Ralph Snart comic book into a computer? Only someone with animal instincts.
Yes?
Who would change pencil days before deadline?
I think I understand.
Who possesses only 4 fingers and gets his paws into things he shouldn't?
Absolutely.
Who has no respect for the comic book price guide? Who violates such a treasured piece of work?
Mudd, you're a genius!
Yes, it is!
Ralph Snart! Of course! I should have known. It's so obvious. Let me tell you, Mudd. I had my doubts about you in the beginning, but you sure proved yourself. Let me tell you. I don't know what those first several clues had to do with Snart, but I guess my mind is not as delicate to those detective matters as yours.
Right. And who it was all along.
So you've got Snart. Boy, oh boy, wait till I get my hands on him.
Well, not so fast, Tony. We haven't snagged Snart yet, but I'm hot on his tail.
Well, you do know where to find him, don't you? Well, of course you do. You're an able-minded detective.
I hadn't the slightest idea in the world where to find Snart, so I started doing a little detective work. You know, the technical stuff. Very complicated. I must admit that I learned an awful lot about Snart, and the man, Hansen, who pulls all the strings. For one thing, the comic book was off the wall. Not really my cup of tea. There were no superheroes or spaceship rescues, but it was entertaining nevertheless. And all the little pieces of evidence that Snart had left behind, they were all here, in his comics. Yeah, I could definitely see him recruiting all the other Now characters to join him in this crazy plot. But why? There were so many questions I still needed answered. Time flying by, I continued my search for Snart. I must have combed the entire city several times over, but still no sign of the man. I was exhausted, but I continued on. I had to find Snart fast in order to save Now Comic. Every second was critical. I was on a mission to find Ralph Snart, and I wouldn't let anything get in my way. But first, time for a cheeseburger break. A cheeseburger and a strawberry milkshake break.
Who are you? I'm Sniffles, unable to snare Snart.
Nah. Snart's been sneaking.
For a snippet of your snap, I'll tell you how you can snag Snart.
Look, you snickering sniveler. If you know where Snart is, you better tell me. I'm gonna snip that snarl off your schnoz.
That won't do you any good, because I'm a snitch. And after I snitch on Snart, I'll snitch to Snart that I snitched to you that I snitched on Snart.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter anymore anyways. Caputo doesn't need me. In fact, if you can keep a secret... Now Comics has a new comic book. It's gonna blow everyone away. It's gonna be the biggest thing to hit the newsstand in a long time. And in fact, as we speak, the comic proofs are sitting on Tony Caputo's desk, and they've been approved. And at 6:30 a.m., they're gonna be off to the presses for immediate release. It's gonna be comic book history. It's gonna be the greatest thing that ever happened to Now Comics. And don't tell anyone.
Got it? I don't know how this information snuck past me.
Old Sniffles had just fallen victim to a trap masterfully set by me, Mel Mudd. If my assumption was correct, the snitch would make sure that Snart found out about the phony Now comic. And Snart, not one to leave any job undone, would come back to sabotage the new comic like he had all the others. It was up to the snitch now. All I could do was wait. Ralph Snart. Finally me. That's not important. The game's over. While the fat lady's in the belfry, I'm shaking the popcorn and you're holding the woodchuck. How does that mind of yours work? And why did you do it? And I suppose it was you that got everyone to jump on your bandwagon, you horse-collared bandit. But it was you that did all the damage. The beer bottle, the messed-up computer, the raspberries, defaming the comic price guide. So you thought you were going to get fired. How did you know? Did you hear Caputo say he'll fire him? In fact, fire all the comic characters? Snart, this was supposed to be next month's issue. You probably overheard Caputo and Hansen talking about it, and, well, if you would have stuck around a few more moments, you would have realized what was going on. But now time's running out. We've only got a few more hours before Now Comics close their doors forever. Absolutely, Snart. What do you have to say for yourself? Get smart, Snart. You created this problem, and it's going to be up to you to fix it. Time is running out. We still have a chance to save Now Comics.
Well, I guess this is it, gang. It's all over now. We clung to the hope that we would be saved, that Mel Mudd could find our comic book characters. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. And without comic books this month, we're through.
Tony! They're back!
They're back?
Hooray!
Yes, they were back. All of them. The real Ghostbusters, the Green Hornet, Speed Racer, Racer X, Slimer, the Fright Night Fund, Little Monsters, every one of them. And the leader of them all was Ralph Snart, barking out orders and doing whatever was needed to get the comics finished on time. Together, with the staff of Now Comics, they made it happen. The writing, the inking, the penciling, it was amazing to watch the furious pace at which they worked. With only hours before printing deadline, the artwork was delivered by the only means that could get it there on time, faster than a plane or anything else known to man. Speed Racer's fabulous Mach 5 race car. And somehow, whether you call it a comic book miracle or not, the new issues of Now Comics all made it to the newsstands on time. So ends what I call the What Now cable. Proving once again life as a comic book detective is no joke. Excuse me. Now, Mudd, Comic Book Detective Agency. Mudd speaking. How can I help? Tony Caputo? What now? I know I haven't seen Speed Racer. Oh, Tony, I don't know what Speed Racer.
Bye.